Welcome to Designs by Diane. Today we're going to go island hopping. Come along and let's get busy quilting. The pillow you see here is done in a stitch called candle wicking. It is a very old type of stitch. In the olden days they used the actual thread that looked like the wick of a candle and muslin, and they did patterns on fabric. Now the reason we're going to the islands today is because this pattern that I have done on this pillow is a Polynesian pattern. I'm taking what is actually an applique pattern and I'm converting it to use as candle wicking, and I want to show you how to take patterns that you have and do other things with them. I have a whole pattern set that my sister brought me from Hawaii, from the Polynesian village. They have a whole set here. You could do the whole set of pillows if you'd like, but they're actually meant for applique. You would cut this out and applique it on a piece of fabric and then quilt around it. We're going to do a pillow today, but you could do this same pattern and do the whole set and make a quilt top out of it. It is beautiful. So we'll get into some of the mechanics now. Here's an example of a traditional candle wicking pattern. It has dots where each of the knots would go so that you know how to space them out. Once you get the hang of this, you can tell about where each knot should go. But this is a wreath. Here are some scallops. Now you would do these two and then flip it around so you could do the opposite two and continue your pattern. Here is a little Sunbonnet Sue. We love Sunbonnet Sue and Sunbonnet Sam in our quilts and in our needlework. So they have done Sunbonnet Sue here for you. But I have a whole package of patterns here. You can go on the internet and search for them and find multitudes of free patterns. Now the patterns I'm using today are these Polynesian patterns, which is upside down to you, so let me turn it around. It comes with the instructions of how to applique, but each pattern is made in 1/8. We're going to fold a piece of paper like we used to do the old snowflakes when we cut them out, and we will line it up with this, and we're going to trace 1/8 of it, and then I will show you how to transfer it to the whole pattern, and then we can trace it onto our fabric. I'm going to work on this pattern now. I have not done this one yet, so I'll draw this one up so that you can see it. The first thing we need to do is get our pattern, and this one is aimed at me, but I think you can get the idea. I'm going to just put a little tape on the corners, and this is blue painter's tape. It's not as sticky as the regular tape, so it won't mess up my pattern like regular tape might do. You still have to be a little careful taking it off, but it won't mess it up as much. Now, we have our pattern, and it is attached to the table so it can't move. We need to trace it onto a piece of paper that's going to have all 8 parts together. So I have cut a piece of paper that is 2 feet by 2 feet. I'm going to fold it just like we used to do the notebook paper to make the snowflakes. I'm going to crease it in half. Then I'm going to crease it in half again the other way. Now I've got it into 4ths. I need it into 8ths. So now I'm going to take this folded edge and fold it over onto this folded edge. Now make sure your point is nice and pointy when you do this. Get that point right, get these edges right, and then make your crease. The reason I'm going ahead and doing this is so that I can find one part that I can work with that's going to match this, and I can see it from the top. Now the folded line, the straight folded line would be this short one. The bias fold line would be this long one. So we want to make sure that we have this positioned right. I want to use this part of this, so I'm going to unfold the whole thing, keeping this one where I can see it, and I'm going to put this back down on top of my picture, matching my center fold line and my fold line here with the crease and my fold line here with the crease. Now, because this pattern was actually made for applique, it has the turning under amount, the 1/8 inch already on it. I want to trace the dots here. I'm going to make a line where the dots would be, because that would actually be the outside of our pattern if we were appliquing. So I'm going to put it down, and I'm just going to start here, make my flower, come up here and follow the dots now so that your pieces won't overlap too much. Go up into this leaf. Now, because we want to have a nice amount of our fabric utilized, we're going to actually put some extra lines in here that are on this pattern. And you don't have to be perfect, but don't get off too much. Come up here, do these. And then go to that fold, because when the fold is continued, it will go. Now, on this pattern, you have some lines for quilting. We're going to add those lines in here and get it lined back up so that we can cross stitch them. I'm going to put a center of my flower, and then that line and that line. And then we know we'll have a line here where our fold is. On this one right here, we'll have a little V. That'll add some in there. On this leaf, I'm going to put a stem down the center, and then some veins. Just enough to give it a little character. And then on this flower, I'm going to put a bigger center, and then some lines in the flower there, and we know we'll have one up here. Now, we have 1/8 of our pattern. How are we going to get it to be one whole pattern? I'll show you in just a moment. Okay, we're going to need a couple of other things for this step. The way I do it, I have this piece of foam board. It's what we used to use for poster board, but now it has foam in the middle, and you can get it any arts and crafts place, or even somewhere like Staples or Office Depot usually has it. It comes in larger sheets, and this is just a hunk that I had left over from another project. I will take a push pin, they don't use thumbtacks anymore, they use push pins, and I'm going to actually make it go through the paper into this. But before I do that, I'm going to refold this paper where it was originally folded. And I need to stabilize it, so I'm going to grab my stapler in just a second and staple it in a couple of places so that it will be still, and then we'll get the holes punched.